Well, welcome.
Hey, Chris.
This is our second podcast, and it's the Rebel Experience. We're here at Rebel 11. We have our guest today is well, I'm learning that there's new names. There's for me DJ 13 because I'm a gringo, DJ Trece, Carlos,
Johnny Flecha.
Johnny Flecha, in with us. We'll be bringing his daughter in to join us soon. But I wanted to start off with him. I want to thank you first off for coming on. Really
Thank you for
appreciate it.
inviting me. Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. It's an honor.
So tell me, first off, let's start all the names. Tell me a little bit why you have the different names. Are they associated with acting? Are they associated with your music career and personal life?
They're directly associated with hip hop and the hip hop culture from the '90s. I started as a DJ in 1996, and I by the name DJ 13. Before that, I was a visual artist, so I was known as Carlos Julio Molina, which is my legal name as an artist. But then I fell in love with hip hop, and I started my journey into hip hop as DJ 13. As a DJ, I was living in Mexico City, and I started spinning in clubs, and I needed a name back then nobody would spin hip hop, especially in Latin America. So I wanted to make a name for myself as a hip hop DJ in Latin America, and I started that, and then I got turned into the Wu-Tang Clan, where they had this whole philosophy about alias and AKAs, which actually comes from maybe criminal activity, but they transformed it into
Wu-Tang criminal, really?
yeah, but I'm talking about the aliases and the AKA this, AKA that. Became a way of having different identities in the music world, and how would you explore music or explore different flows or explore being a producer or a beat maker. So I always consider myself kind of like a Renaissance artist. I try to do as many things as I can because I just feel that creative energy. So inside the music business in the rap and what I was doing, I started getting different aliases, very influenced by Wu-Tang Clan. So I be DJ Tres, aka Tony Armas, aka Johnny Flecha, and each one had like a different perspective on music inside the hip hop world. So I
Who
started just using different names, and it became a way to find freedom of expression without any compromising your brand or your name or anything. So I would make up different names and make different music for different names.
who would you say your biggest influence in music was? Who like triggered you that said I want to be a musician or I want to be in the entertainment industry? Was there any one celebrity or
Well,
musician or
it was basically the early '90s hip hop acts that made me fall in love. I fell in love straight to hip hop. I didn't go into the music business, into the music before, like, or rock or anything, because I used to listen to rock before the '90s. But I just it was Snoop Dogg, it was Wu-Tang Clan, it was a Tribe Called Quest, it was Tupac, and it was Biggie.
a
And
tribe called Quest? Was
yes,
I lost my wallet in El Segundo.
yes. So those were the ones that, when that came out in the early '90s, I was like, wow. Because rap before that was kind of a little different for me. Um, but then when it came up in the '90s, it was just amazing, and I fell in love with it. And I said, "This is the brush I want to paint with. It's gonna be hip hop." And the Snoop and all those guys were the ones that opened the doors for me. And I was going to art school, studying what they call new genres in art school in San Francisco, which was using all the genres you can by using an idea can be interpreted into many genres. So I was trained as a multidisciplinary artist basically, but I hadn't found my brush to which one I was going to use. And hip hop was the one. So
It's
when I got into hip hop, my whole life changed.
it's amazing kind of hearing your story. And I'm looking on my phone because I saved this picture, but you found out this morning we're 4 days apart and our
Yes,
birthday in the
yes,
same year. So it's strange.
both Geminis.
I entered my if you will, evolution 25 years ago, but was like there for a year, and then I left because I didn't have music in my blood. Like it wasn't the gas. So I kind of went wherever I could do what I could do to make money. And it's interesting that when you find someone such as yourself, now that I'm finding out, that's we die a very, very happy old man just doing what you love in arts or entertainment. And it's what I was going to tell you. I looked up, it said the legendary cellist Pablo Casals was asked why he continued to practice at the age 90. His response was, because I think I'm making progress. I think it's amazing.
Wow. You're always learning. You never stop.
Yeah, and it's for me, it's been the most difficult. And listen, I have a tough time turning on a radio. I have zero musical talent, but the whole industry is a very challenging industry and trying to learn. And there's managing so many emotions of people and artists. When I say artists, songwriters, entertainers, y'all are messed up. Y'all have some broken soul that you're trying to tell the world about, and like and that's what I think. That's why you get those great songs, because
when you tap into that, that's where it's at.
And I think that I'm a little bit blown away. And Froggy, thank you, Froggy, for helping us out over here. You know, we've had this conversation. I've had it with some other seasoned people in the business. It's for me, it's a shock, or I don't know, shock, disappointment. But these people that go, man, I cranked out a whole song today in the studio, and I go, what? That's the generation we live in now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Pink Floyd and Stones and Fleetwood Mac, it'd take them 2 years to do an album. They'd go in there and they would bleed and cry and sweat and share the world, and it'd take them 3-4 months to do one song.
So what do you think about that? Do you think music is getting worse through the years?
I think we're going through the ebb and flow of music as everything else in life. Mm-hmm. It goes like this, and I think right now it's a true reflection of where we are in the the technological world. Mm-hmm. So it's so easy for everybody to now have access to a laptop and software, and they are making microphones that are really really good, that are not that expensive. So we're getting more talent because there's the availability for people to do it, I think, but it's saturated the quality.
Totally. And albums before, when we used to be kids, album like Pink Floyd, The Wall, would last in your shelf or would last in your hearing range, would last for 6 years. You would listen to that album for years. Now songs have like a lifetime span of like 3-4 weeks.
I can.
And then you go on to the next one.
I can tell you this. I don't know the exact metrics behind it, but I imagine if you went on YouTube right now, Despacito is probably 4.5 billion views, and Layla is probably 200,000. I can tell you this. Despacito will not be in our minds in 40 years.
Wow.
It just won't be. It's a great song. It's the world can hear it. But those songs from 30, 40, 20 years ago even.
But maybe you. Well, I mean.
Well, think about this.
Yeah, you're comparing something that is really pop, like Despacito, like it's meant to be pop, and the other song that you mentioned is kind of like it was more like underground. Like maybe at that time there was something pop at that time that was playing that was probably like the Despacito of that era.
Possibly. I think though, what's the Mexican rapper? He had a one-hit wonder. He had the ponytail. He actually signed Henrique. He went to A&R.
Oh, Rico Suave, you
mean? Rico Suave. Now, that song, it's just a one-hit wonder, but it's embedded into our minds forever. I don't think Despacito as superstars, Fonzie, and I don't think it'll be embedded in my head, though, in 30 years. I don't know. Time will tell.
Despacito has different effects, and one of the most important effects in culture that Despacito had, maybe not as I'm not saying it's not a quality song, but it is that it was one of the songs that helped open up Latin music to other ears that weren't Latin. And for the first time, you saw like Justin Bieber wanted to jump on a song. So maybe it's not about the quality of the song, but it was what the song actually did and how it pushed culture forward and Latin culture forward. And now it's just so different because now you listen to American hip hop radio stations and J Balvin is playing right there in Spanish songs and Bad Bunny is playing their bad songs and I think Despacito and before that Living La Vida Loca and before that Miami Sound Machine were songs that actually maybe like you say maybe won't last or not, I don't know, but their function was that they open new audiences.
It's I don't know if
And
you've
for Latinos, that for
Huge.
us, that's a
well,
treat.
and I don't know if you've seen the billboard on 95 downtown or it's been on airplanes. It has Balvin sitting there on YouTube. It says redefining mainstream. What a great billboard! I mean, that just summarizes everything. Redefining. I know
And
you're
how
telling me to
come?
lean in.
And when Beyonce jumped into Mi Gente, I think that was a historical point right there because I mean it wasn't like J Balvin was like jumping on her track; she was jumping on J Balvin's track. And the story is that Beyonce's daughter was so in love with the song that she would like. They said,
Do you know who I think is somebody that will? He's reaping the benefits financially, but I don't think he and I'm not his biggest fan, but I think he was a huge bridge for the Latins of the world and mainstream. DJ Khaled. I think he was a massive bridge.
Why do you say that? I'm a big Khaled fan. I'm
So
amazing,
he-
but how does he relate to Latin music? Because
Being from Miami,
Of
he
course.
brought a ton of attention and spotlights on Miami that wasn't
Yes, he did.
Don Johnson in Miami Vice.
Yes, he did. That was 2007, 2006 when he came. I'm so hood. I remember that, and he put Miami on the spotlight as a like, not like a unique, different Miami sound. Like it was, he put it on there, and it was like on with New York and LA.
And a lot of people wherever they come from forget where they came from. He loves Miami. He's a
Miami,
big,
yes, he is.
Miami guy. So tell me a little bit about where you're from originally, how you got to be here right now in Miami. Where have you been along that journey?
Well, I'm DJ Trece, and I'm basically known in Latin America for as I don't like to say that much, but I'm gonna say it because I think I really fought hard for it. I'm the father of Venezuelan rap culture. I started Venezuelan rap culture back in 1996.
See, this is like amazing. I don't know this, and this is the guilt of being a typical white person in America, where we are incredibly conceited and we think the world revolves around America. Like I love,
But America
I-
influences so many people, and America has
Strive-
put out the
I
best
just-
musical movements that have ever been, like the blues, like jazz, and we Latinos mixed that up with our Latin music that also came from other parts, and we did that mix, and in 1996 there was no hip hop in Venezuela. There was some different things that were there, like kind of merengue, rap, and stuff, but not the actual hip hop culture as assembled in an album. And I saw that culture. I was born in New York, and of Venezuelan parents. Both my parents are Venezuelan, and they took me back when I was 2 years old back to Venezuela. I grew up in Venezuela, Caracas. I'm from Caracas, and I grew up, and then I went back to New York City, back and forth, because my mother was going to NYU studying, so I would go with her. And I got to witness when I went back when I was 7 or 8 years old in the early 80s. I got to witness the birth of the street culture movement as a whole in New York. I saw it when Keith Haring was working on the subway with a chalk, and I saw when the first graffitis. I saw the first breakdancers. I saw that birth, and that impacted me so much, and it showed me so much freedom and so much expression and the colors and everything. It was a whole new world that was coming out with that culture, and it affected me so much when the time was over that I had to go back to Venezuela because of the crisis, what they called the Black Friday back in 1984. I had to go back to Venezuela, and I had all this culture with me, and I was just like an 11-year-old kid, and I was bringing to my country as an 11-year-old kid all this culture that nobody knew about, basically. So I went to high school and all that, but years later, as a DJ, and years later now, 1996, I started spinning first in Mexico, and then when I went back to Venezuela, I started my group called La Corte, which is a legendary Latin American rap Latin group, and from then on, when I started La Corte and I put up the first CD back in 1998, it went boom, and I was like a household name in my country, and I was doing shows in Colombia, I was doing shows in Europe and everything, and it was the birth of the Venezuelan movement. So I'm basically responsible for that, and also I started in this movie called Sequestro Express that was bought by Miramax, and it's the first independent Venezuelan movie bought by Miramax.
Tell me you had some dealings with Harvey Weinstein.
No, not me. Not me. Just the director and the people that were owning the movie. I was just starting the movie, but it was the biggest box office hit in Venezuela it came out in 2005 till 2010. It was for 5 years the highest grossing movie in Venezuela, and that was a big impact. It's called Sequestro Express, and from then on, because of the political situation in Venezuela, I have to leave by 2012. I moved to Miami. Miami was my home for 5 years, and this is where I created my new project called El Arca, which is basically, like Chris very well said, and I'm very proud to say, is like kind of like a Latin Beastie Boys concept.
Absolutely amazing.
And now last year I moved to LA to keep my acting career going, and now I'm here with you.
So I had an amazing conversation yesterday with somebody, and I want to get your interpretation of it and your thought process on what I'm about ready to ask. Why do you think that Puerto Rico and Colombia have dominated the
You're
music
killing me
scene?
with this question.
And
That's
why,
a nasty question.
And
Thank
why,
you very much.
And why does, as Venezuela, because I can tell you this, no one is ever going to confuse me with anything to do with musical talent. But I can tell you this, some of the finest musicians
right.
I've ever been around are from Venezuela.
You're totally right. You're totally right.
So why is Venezuela, and the answer I got, was the deep conversation I had, was with a Venezuelan who has some of the biggest influence in all of entertainment. So it'll be interesting to hear what you have to say.
Well, basically, Puerto Rico and Cuba have been it's like Jamaica. They've been the cradle of Caribbean and Latin music since the beginning. Puerto Rico has like a musical heritage that no other country can ever compare with what they did with salsa and Cuba. And Venezuela was always there. It's very close. But Venezuela was more of a more conservative country through the 50s and the 40s, a very strong country, a very rich country, because of the oil. And maybe because of the oil and how rich it wasn't struggling that much. So when there's not that much struggle, you can see there's not that much culture.
I wish you could have been a fly on the wall yesterday. I recorded it. It's exactly what he said. He said, and this is what I'm betting on with this launching of Rebel 11, the label, and how this whole conversation came up with him yesterday. He's like, why is your whole roster Venezuelan? And I said, it's gonna sound weird, but the countries do. They're due to have their time is here,
Yes.
and that's where it went into. He described that Puerto Rico has always struggled with just extreme poverty. So you had two ways out: sports, or be a singer. So everybody
And
wanted.
it's an island.
Yes.
And it's an island.
And he said and Venezuelans confuse themselves with being from the Caribbean. He goes, we're not from the Caribbean.
Well, the Caraqueños are
Yeah.
from Caracas.
So he said, because we were such a wealthy country, there was no struggle. No one had to do it, bled to do it. He said, now that that the country is struggling, he goes, you watch, this country is going to produce some superstars. And I think we're at the right time at the right place.
Totally. But the thing is that then at the mid-90s, there was a new generation coming, which I count myself in. There was a new generation coming that took maybe that privilege of coming from that era and had the opportunity to travel abroad, and we saw other things. we saw their cultures. We're not that spoiled in that sense. So we came back and we started in the mid '90s. This whole new generation is the whole, and there's so much talent in Venezuela, and we had the platform, especially in TV making. We were leaders in Latin America and in the world in Latin American TV, maybe soap operas, but we were the best at it. Live TV, we were the best at it. And we were starting to do movies, and by the mid 90s, we was going on strong. There was this new generation coming, and then obviously the political situation kind of like shut that down and let other countries that were in a crisis before, like Colombia, they flipped in the 90s and they started growing at a fast rate while we started stopping because of the political situation. So when the new generation of people like me were just coming out, the political situation, it changed. So we got frustrated for that, and now there's another country another island in the Caribbean that is really popping great artists. Like, it's called Dominican Republic.
Yeah.
Amazing. It's just right there. And Colombia, it started a growth in the 90s after the whole narco crisis and everything. They changed, and they learned a lot from Venezuela, and they blossomed, and we haven't had the chance to blossom, although we have a great talent, amazing hip hop culture, and which is dominating on the underground in Latin America, but we don't have the platform. What does it mean? There's no record labels, there's no extensions of big record labels in Venezuela, there's none of that. So
I hope we can bring music to Venezuela. I hope we can take. I understand that there's a huge political crisis going on there, and people are very opinionated on one side or the other, just like there was with Cuba. I don't have enough information.
just like it is here now.
Yeah, and I don't have enough information or knowledge to say one way or the other. All I know is what I see, and it's really sad.
For example, let's take Spotify. Spotify is kind of like somehow on the front with the music promotions. Have like what the numbers on Spotify can kind of be the real numbers for artists. Spotify is not in Venezuela. You can get Spotify in Colombia, you can get Spotify in Peru, you can get Spotify in Ecuador.
Do they have it blocked through the internet?
It's blocked because you can't have Spotify in Venezuela. So for example, that is like, when you use social media and you want to communicate, Apple Music, hey, get my stuff in, they can't, no. So it's starting to affect the growth of the new generation, but they're all finding ways. And they're all finding circuits through Mexico, finding circuits to Peru, through Ecuador, and the struggle is real, but the talent is real. Yes.
So I want to segue into bringing your daughter on.
Yes. Well, yeah, and in the year 2000, my first daughter was born. Her name is Andrea, but her artistic name is Dru Flecha. And she grew up exactly when I started basically my career, when my career started popping. That was the year 2000. We got signed in Venezuela by a record label when there was a platform. And she basically is a Latin hip hop baby. She grew up in hip hop. She was nurtured by hip hop. She was in the studio. She was in the tour bus. She grew up, and now she's 18 years old, and now she's doing Latin trap, and I'm so proud. And how would I do it? Because what do I do was a secret, I guess. I was when I was growing up, I learned how to be a father with her. I had her when I was 27, 28. And I learned, and I lived a fast life and a wild life, but there's something I always respected. I always it was how I raised my daughter, and the love for my daughter, and the time and the quality time I spent with her. So I have complete trust on what we built together, and and especially me and her mother, what we put into her all these years. So, and we put so much effort. So we're so confident that she grew up to be a very aware person and a very sensible person, and she knows about growing up in Venezuela and about being here in the American culture and also being in European culture. So we're so happy, we're so proud, and we're so confident that she's so firm and strong with her beliefs that we're okay.
My job is going to be for hopefully for the foreseeable future, to test your patience, because I'm gonna get crowds that are gonna. All these people are gonna want to be her, and
That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah,
That's a beautiful thing. That's not a bad thing. That's a beautiful thing. And art is a beautiful thing. And being an artist and being able to inspire other people, that's where the key is. Not really in the fame or the numbers or the followers. And I always tell her that is how many people you influence. How many people you get to touch when your hairs and your arms stand up.
You just did that to me,
That's
man.
what it is. It also comes with money. It comes with things that make your life comfortable and numbers and followers.
A great responsibility too. We talked about that earlier. You have a humongous responsibility to when you have that much influence over so many people. That you do have a responsibility to do things right and make the world better. And it's a great platform being a celebrity. I mark my word. Whatever today's date is, the 22nd of August, we'll be able to look back at this and we'll be able to say we said it. Your daughter will be a superstar. I promise you. I promise you.
Dios te oiga, como dicen en español. Thank you so much, amen. But the thing is that when you're an artist and you have to go with the times and you have to express with the times, sometimes being a role model is hard because sometimes you got to express things that are sometimes uncomfortable and hard, and you always want to be that edge artist. You don't want to be that sugar-coated artist or anything. So it's really hard, but at the same time, if you're well prepared and you're surrounded with the right team of people that really like you and trust you and believe in you, I think great things can be done. And I think there needs to be more young girls out there doing great work, putting high-quality output music out there. And it's a new time, and it's a new generation, and girls are doing just as strong as work as boys, and I think it's amazing. I'm so proud to have a daughter as my older girl, and she's opening ways for others. And I always tell her, it's about who you influence and who you impact, and that's where the key is, and she's very aware of that.
So without further ado, I think we should bring her in and let the world
Dru Flecha.
start seeing Dru Flecha.
Thank you, Chris.
And through the amazing technology of the editing room floor, we have a new person here all of a sudden. Poof.
Hi.
Dru Flecha is here, my daughter.
I will give you, I was going to give you the platform. Go ahead and give the formal introduction. Let the world find out who this young lady is.
Dru Flecha is my daughter. She's an artist. She just started her career basically a year ago. And you can check her out on platforms as Dru Flecha. And she's here, and she's going to talk about a little bit about herself with you.
Yeah.
How are you today?
I'm very good.
So I can't pretend like I'm the interviewer and I just met you, because I've known you for a little bit now, but I really have just met you. And your kind of introduction to the Rebel family. And today's the first time I met your father. First off, I'm very, very grateful for both of you being here. Thank you.
Us too.
As your father and I were just discussing, we have a huge responsibility to this industry to do things right and deliver the best that we possibly can as humans. And to have you here and what you're going to do is going to be truly a blessing. So I want to start off with you. Tell the world a little bit about you, where you're from, why you're here, and let's start off with where you're from.
I'm from Venezuela. I was born in Caracas.
Okay.
And
how along that journey, where did it take you? Did you live in Caracas for a year, 2 years?
No, I lived there for about 13 years with my dad and my mom. And then I moved to Paris for a while, and then now I moved to LA. I just moved.
And she lived in Miami for a year.
For a year, I did live here for a year.
So you essentially grew up around your superstar rapper father, huh?
Yeah, the first 13 years of my life was pretty much always with him, and
on a motorcycle.
On a tour bus with all his buddies and
rapper friends.
Yeah.
So how is it growing up in the industry?
It was pretty fun. It's really different from what I see like my friends grew up in. I think it made me more mature it made me mature quicker than my other friends, because I had to be an adult. I had to be grown because I wasn't playing.
So tell me, what is it like to have, as you're growing up, to have all these women screaming at your father and...
It was pretty funny. He really handled it well. He really did. Once we were in a mall, and there were these fans. They came up to him, and it was like already like the 10th person that came up to him. And I was like tired, and he was just like, are you 13? Are you 13? And he was like, he looked at me, he grabbed my hands like, no, that's not me. And we started running, and they started chasing
and she
him.
said, yes, he is.
Yeah, I was like, yes, that's him. And they were like, what, no way. And then it's like we started running together.
So I just got done telling your father that his patience is going to be extremely tested, because I feel very, very strongly you're going to be a superstar. And when you become a superstar, there's going to be all these little boys going, hey, Dru. So his patience will definitely be tested, but I think he's raised you.
No, he can handle it.
I think she tested my patience already.
Yeah,
a couple of times.
I
I think that
So why the entertainment business? You must love it because you grew up in it around your father, but
Yeah.
but why be a singer? Why not be an actress? Why not go into broadcast journalism?
I don't know.
Why not be a superstar podcaster such as not me?
I don't know. It's just my dad just inspires me more than anyone, and I see what he does and what he does the best, and he's gone. He's done a lot of this, and I've seen it since I was little. So
are we gonna get to see like a Frank Sinatra and his daughter?
Love to.
You gonna do collaborate together at some time?
Oh yeah, we're for sure. For
love
now,
to.
I'm just.
We always make fun of that. It's like
Yeah.
I would do my bars like, "Hey, nobody mess with my daughter." Blah, blah, blah. I would fuck up the whole song.
Yeah.
I'm like, yo, stop it right now. No, I'm just playing.
So we, I was telling your father as well, the great responsibility that I have and we have in not only you, but we're talking about you right now, protecting you
Yeah.
from this not only nasty business, but nasty world, and looking out for each other. And we're going to do the best we can to make the world see you and protect you along the way. And our first, we've already done a song here, but now it's time to put video to that, and we're going to be doing a video starting on Friday with you. Are you nervous?
A little, but not as much as at the first time.
What are you nervous about, you think? Just because it's different camera?
Yeah, I'm just cameras. For me, it's a little harder than recording in a studio. It might seem in my Instagram that I love the cameras on me, but it's actually not like that. I kind of get a little shy.
It's strange because you put me in front of 10,000 people, I can talk all day.
Yeah.
You put me in front of 20, and I get nervous.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. 10,000, I'm fine. 20 people, I go, oh, they're all looking at me, so a different size audience video, I can see where you'd get nervous.
She's also fluent in French, Spanish,
French.
and English, so she
Super.
can sing in 3 languages. We started with Spanish because it was like how she felt natural. But now she's doing now English and Spanish, and now the challenge is to do songs in French too for the French market.
So here's your prime opportunity to memorialize yourself, and we can all look back. I don't know if you remember the Madonna. He and I do, probably very, very easy. And when they interviewed her, they said, "What do you see yourself in the music business? What do you want to do?" And she said, "I want to conquer the world." And it's just epic because she was a nobody.
It was like the words just like
Resonate with us.
that's it, and she did it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So where do you see? We'll do a staggered question. Where do you see yourself in 1 year, and then where do you see yourself in 5?
Wow. In a year, I'd probably see myself already doing concerts and being known in the music industry, and I'd also like to be known in the acting industry because I want to act too. Um,
But that's gonna come natural because you're a female. Females are always acting.
Acting up.
Yeah, acting up.
yeah, in a year I'll probably know more what I'm doing, and I'll be more, I'd be traveling here, LA, between here and LA, and in 5 years, I think I can make it in 5 years. Like, I want to. I really believe that I can, and especially, it's so much easier when you have your family, and, that your family has your back. My mom and my dad and my whole family, they know that I want to do this, and they want me to do this, and it's such a blessing. It's so much easier, and thanks to that, that's why I know that I'm gonna.
I'll interject. I think that in 5 years we can at Rebel look back, and I think we're going to be able to say that not only were you the original foundation of what we're doing, but my opinion, you're going to be the reason, one of the main reasons that you're going to take us to where we need to go. So you have a huge responsibility.
She does.
Yeah.
So if we fail, you're going to do incredibly well with us.
I really think so. I have a lot of hope.
And the team here has been so welcoming too. The producers that I gotta mention,
Yeah,
Danny
of
and
course.
Carlos. Danny and Carlos have
They've been great
taken
to
her
me.
under her wing in a very positive and brotherly way. And for me, when I see that chemistry, it's the exact chemistry that I had when I started. And that's it.
Yeah.
When you have a good team, oh man.
I have a great team. A great team.
Very, very blessed, and be very, very rest assured that Mama over there will always have her eyes on you. This is my better half, Monico. There, she runs the label and the whole entertainment company with me, and she's very protective. Being a mother, we have 4 children herself, so she'll be looking over you. Danny, you were waving your hand. Did you?
What's that?
You were waving your hand. Did you want to?
No, just like.
Oh, okay. He's over there going, "What up?"
Keep going.
Yes.
And this new talent. I mean, it's coming out at such an early age. It's amazing. It's amazing.
So I kind of want to end it there because I think you're going to be a regular on here,
Okay.
showing the world, and I hope you come back because we have a lot to talk about, brother.
Thank you.
A whole lot. I want to thank you both for coming on.
Thank
you so much for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Peace.